Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our today's session. My name is Elaine, and I'm very honored and pleased to welcome you to today's Fireside Chat powered by GDEXA with some wonderful women and female leaders who will share their insights and perspectives today. So before starting, I hope you all grabbed some lunch or dinner wherever you are located and you are keen to get to know all of our role models. Before starting, one small hint, if you have questions, if there is something interesting, if you want to have an opinion, please just use the chat on YouTube and ask your questions. You need to log in with a YouTube account and then your questions will come directly to us and I will ask them to all the women here in the chat. So let's get started. Well, first of all, of course, we want to get to know our guests and therefore we will do a little exercise. So I would like to ask all of you to actually go ahead, introduce yourself with one or two words or adjectives which describe you. So Elaine, maybe you want to go ahead. Give us 3 words which describe you as a person.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, 3 adjectives, very simple. Youthful, multidimensional, meaning that my personality will adjust according to the situation, and challenging. Thank you.
Cool. Magdalena, you want to go ahead?
So, of course, thank you, Eileen. I really like that exercise. And I'd say about myself, I'm an incurable optimist. So whatever happened in my life, I am staying optimistic. And I think that's really important for the future and for the personal life, but also for the career. And combining that with a really stubborn personality that I have. It's typical for Bavarians, but I'm really special in it, and my family can tell a lot about that. And to round that up, I'm absolutely emotional, and I saw that for many, many years as a weakness, especially in my career. But I think about 3 years ago, I really read a lot about empathy, a lot about emotions at work. And now I really see it as a huge strength. And I'm really happy to be that emotional.
I love it. Cool. Alexandra, would you go on?
I would start with ambitious. That will be the first feature that would describe me. And I do think that if you want to be successful, that you definitely need to have fun, especially fun at work. So this is the second adjective that would describe me. And I think lifelong learner would be the third one to describe me.
Nice. I love the last one, especially working in the skilling and learning area.
Definitely.
I like it very much. Thank you very much. Sigrid, you're next.
So I would say perfectionist. I guess being in the data space, it's quite important to pay attention to details, and it's something that I have learned when I started studying, and I still have some aspects of it, which has followed me. The second one is stubborn, and Magdalena, I think it's interesting because I actually have roots in Bavaria. My grandparents are from there, so maybe that's where we actually have commonalities. And the last part is I love sports, so I would say sporty, and I especially I love playing volleyball, which I still do in my free time.
Nice, cool, thank you. And last but not least, Marilyn.
Hi, everybody. Good evening and good afternoon from where you are. The 3 adjectives that I'll talk about myself, I guess I'll be inspiring. I actually really enjoy a conversation with people, and then in a way that will inspire people to have actually a new ways of doing things, and also a new thoughts and ideas that can function and help them personally or in the organization. At the same time as well, I feel that I'm very passionate about things in terms of being able to be, deal with the day-to-day relationship and people that you're speaking to. You need to be really passionate about what you're trying to, portray and share with the person that you want to inspire. And lastly, I think compassionate. I think a lot of compassion needs to come in as we goes about, when we talk about in the space, at least for me, I'm dealing quite a fair bit like what Sigrid is doing in terms of data space. I hope that one fine day I can actually really make use of data to help, bring about data for good and have a change, to the whole humanity. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. Well, we have 5 amazing women in this chat here, and everyone has different strengths, would like describe themselves differently. I think that makes it very diverse and very powerful. And in terms of International Women's Day, I guess this is what we're talking about women leading and rising other women. And so therefore today is International Women's Day. And first of all, I would love from you to hear, what does it mean for you? I mean, we have it for about 100 years now. What do you relate with this special day? What do you think of it? Is it necessary? Maybe, Marilyn, you can just go ahead and start answering that question.
It's actually a very good, way to acknowledge the things that women are doing in general. I guess it's really cross industries of how women has contributed, in the ways of whether they are full-time working mom or they are full-time homemakers. I guess it's gaining a lot of, traction these days as well, where people get something like a Valentine's Day, we will have the International Women's Day. But I always feel that not forgetting, as women, as well as I'm also a full-time working mom, we must always continuously acknowledge the importance of every single individual, women, men, our children who are, impact our daily lives to help us to be better. I think that is actually much more important in where we are living. Yeah.
Nice, cool. Sigrid, you want to give us your perspective on the International Women's Day?
Yeah, I think to me it resonates more with diversity in general. Definitely there is diversity in gender, but in general, when we work, diversity is important. Having different point of view, people from different industries, people who have different backgrounds, who can bring something very different to the table. And generally, that's the way I approach the data world in general. Is I always hire people who are from very different backgrounds. So be it male, female, but be it also from different nationalities, be it from different backgrounds, different industries. So I think that's really what it means to me. This Women's Day is really making sure that we support diversity and differences between people. And as we do this, the second thing that comes to my mind is new possibilities. So as we bring really these people, these type of people, different with different backgrounds, then we can see new possibilities emerging. And it's really the strengths of those type of teams, which are built on diversity, that we can definitely be more inclusive and have new things coming up from that diversity.
Nice. Magdalena, I know you are also one of our diversity champs. What is your perspective?
Yeah, to be honest, I have a bit an ambivalent relationship to International Women's Day, because I think many companies and many people use it as kind of an advertising day and a marketing day. And I really don't like that. So when I see, for example, fast fashion brands playing out Women's Day advertorials today on Instagram, you get 30% for International Women's Day, but they don't pay their female workers adequate. I think that's to be honest, that's shitty. And I really don't like that. And I think we have to be careful and we have to be aware of companies, people using Women's Day just for advertising. I love Women's Day to be able to connect with great minds like you and to have a talk about important topics. But I think we all have to take care, because it was funny. I read a tweet from Janina Kugel today. I think many of you know her. And Janina tweeted, her husband told her this morning, Happy International Women's Day, and asked her, so when is International Men's Day? And she answered, so all the other days of the year. And I think what we have to fight for, and what we need to aim for, is to make International Women's Day equally to Men's Day all the other days of the year. So that's really important, not to think about all the related topics today to talk about it, but all the other days of the years.
Nice. I love the message. Elaine.
Well, for me, Women's Day is no different from any other day, but at least there's a conscious, attempt to mark the many, many women around the world, what they have done really well. In fact, up to today, there are 7.8 billion of population, and maybe the crowd and audience can guess what is the percentage of men equal to women? What is the ratio? For every 100 male, there will be 100 female. It is just that little difference. But yet, if you look at 365 days, if we say there's only one day for women, no, not quite. If you want to divide it equally, it should be 365 divided by 2. But I guess the intent is this. This is not an advertising. This is not just today we should be recognized. It is any day, any human being of equal rights can voice their pain. They can voice their success loudly. They can share. They can celebrate their journey, and they can seek for rewards and recognition. So I think then it's not really a very special day to me, because it should be every day. Just think about, remember again, 7.8 billion of population in the world, 101 men equal to 100 women, right? So, but it is really a voice of the women to be heard every day, not just today. Thank you.
Nice. Cool. So, Alexandra, what's your perspective?
I'll pick on Magdalena's way of being positive and optimistic, and I would say, okay, we can focus on the stuff that maybe it's not that good, but I still think that it should be taken as a chance to respect what we have today, and this is definitely not to be taken for granted. And I think we should be grateful to our ancestors, female ancestors, that made it possible that we are here, and maybe this is a great chance to use a day like this to think about it. But I do also think it's a great day to hit the pause button, to look back, to see where we're coming from, and to celebrate a little bit of all that we've actually obtained. Relax, gain strength, and gather some energy to push forward. Because I think, and this is something we probably all agree on, we are not done yet. So there's still a lot to be done.
I think that's a perfect finish for that very first question. Well, since we have that opportunity of having such a global audience on one hand, and on the other hand, so many people from different regions of this world, we want to take a closer look in, do you perceive women in business or in tech differently within the different regions? So I know we have some people from Singapore here, we have some people from Germany here, so maybe you can give us some insights what it is like in Singapore for a woman to actually work in business, work in tech. Maybe Elaine, being a co-founder from GDEXA and working in a big IT company, what is your perspective?
Thank you. First of all, I must say that I have been very fortunate the last 30 over years working in technology MNCs, because Singapore is such a small city. In order to drive economical success, economic progress, we do need different kind of industry. So because Singapore has adopted such a diversified economy that we need talent, MNCs were being encouraged many years ago to set up HQ, headquarter in Asia Pacific. Now, because of that, we were fortunate to benefit from the training, from the investments and the career opportunities. So I guess in Asia, is that all the same? Not necessarily, because from a macro level, some economies didn't progress in that regard, or maybe they didn't take that strategy. Hence, the adoption of technology, embracing of technology by different bodies, and the investments would come far lesser, right, in terms of depth and breadth. So, but yet, I like to mention one point. Never once in my entire 32 years of my life that I have been rejected an interview because I'm a woman. I've never been rejected for an education program because I wanted to embark on certain programs. So I've done various technology enablement program, both company funded, organization driven, or even self-driven. So I think it's thought up to the women to take charge. But that's it, because in Asia, it is well kind of known in the past years that that there was a comparison of men versus women. In fact, it's not even about technology. It's about whether women need to study, right? When I was young, my mother said, well, your sisters are all married younger, and why you hanging around? You will be soon unwanted. So there's this pressure that stop studying, and why you working? Your job is to find a good husband and be a good mom and all. So I guess that pressure is always there. But most important, take charge of your life. You decide whether you want to study. You decide on how you want to go for different organization. You have to decide how you want to fight for your chances and ask for help. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Nice. Marilyn, Sigrid, any thoughts from your side, since you're also located in the Asian Pacific region?
Okay, I can start. I mean, I will agree with Elaine. Singapore is doing an amazing job to support women, and I have to say that the community is very active, and there are a lot of such forums in Singapore, a lot of women association, a lot of mentoring and networking opportunities for women in Singapore. There is also, last year there was a Women in Tech award, so it's just to create that awareness. I think Singapore is doing really a great job and is really trying to promote this. However, the reality is it's still very far from equal. I mean, I'm in tech and in finance, and I'm always like sitting in meetings with men, and I have very few women on a day-to-day to interact with. So there is still some work to be done, but definitely we need to start somewhere, and we need to start by raising awareness to some of these problems. And this type of platform that what GDEXA is providing is definitely a good place to start. My employer, specifically Credit Suisse, is actually very active, and there was an event today on this Women's Day as well, which was really well organized. And in addition to women, we actually also have male champions who are supporting us. So they consciously try to hire more women. They try to give them equal opportunities, and so it's great to have also that support from the male community and to see this across. And Credit Suisse is one example. There are other associations also who have male champions, and it's great to see that there is an effort in this direction. There is still a lot of steps to be taken, though.
Nice. Cool. Marilyn, anything to add?
I guess being in this island state country, I've actually grew up a nature of being the youngest and the only female in the family. So I have two elder brothers. Since young, I've always been asked to do the hard tasks, and then as I grow up, I've actually got into engineering as well. So a lot of times I think I have to identify with Sigrid in the sense that Singapore is still quite far from being fully diversified in terms of ratio in the field that we are in. However, I think that's a good thing that we are seeing is that a lot of women or even girls are stepping out, right, to actually share their ideas and a lot more outspoken and able to deliver, great outcomes, positive impacts to the society. So I'm looking forward as, we have a lot of initiative over in Singapore, whether it's public or sector or even private sector who are driving, this change. And I'm looking forward to see a very different Singapore as we move along, with the global, diversity messaging.
Great, cool. Very good insights. We actually have a very first question from the chat, and I will just pop it in here. I just need to change the view here. So Stefan is asking, which countries are role models in your opinions for female equality, and what can we learn from these countries? Magdalena, do you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, I think there are some countries that are or could be huge role models for us. At the moment, I'm looking very, very curious into Finland and Sanna Marin. became the leader. I think the Nordics are really special regarding equality. So they did much more than other countries did within the last decades. And I think they showed how important it is to invest early in topics like compatibility of career and family. And I think what Sanna Marin does is really impressive. And I think it's no surprise that she's a female leader. And I think there are other countries as well. For example, New Zealand. And for me, it's pretty interesting, but no surprise at all, as I mentioned, that female leaders create equality and create countries that can be role models for other countries.
Nice, cool. Any other thoughts on that question?
Iceland is a great example, and not only when it comes to female, but as well when it comes to diversity. And I think for me, the women topic is just one of the, let's say, it is contained in the topic of diversity, and this is the way how I see it. And from the initial remarks, I understood that this is the common understanding that we all have. So I would definitely say Scandinavian countries is a great example. And I think Eastern Europe, and this is basically due to the history, that there was some more eagerness of sharing the duties, especially at home when it comes to Eastern European countries.
Oh, great. That's actually pretty good insight. So if we're looking at Germany, I don't know if everyone followed the news that there will be a kind of women's quota in Germany. So there will be a law from the government saying if there is a company with more than 3 board members, so starting at 4, there needs to be at least 1 female board member for the publicly listed companies. So we are planning to have that in Germany. What is your opinion on that? And maybe also to the Asian colleagues, do we need something as well like this in Asia? Alex, maybe you want to just start.
Yeah, in May, we are actually getting the first female CEO in a DAX company, Belén Garijo, in Merck. So I do think that nobody likes to be told what they're supposed to do. And I think it refers to quota as well. But to be honest, if you look at the companies and the company bosses who say, oh, diversity is such a huge priority for us, and the only images that you see women on are either on image videos or on the job descriptions, and in the end you see them setting the target for a woman being 0, then I will have to say, okay, it's a little bit of your own fault. So to be honest, I'm against all forms of discrimination, this including the positive discrimination. However, I have to say we have right now around 10 to 11 female board members in the listed companies percent. So I do see a chance of doubling it up to half of it within the upcoming 5 years. And actually what we're talking about, it's like 30 companies. So it's actually not a big thing. It's a huge symbolic measure in order to get quick results. So this is how I see it. I wouldn't overestimate and exaggerate it too much. It's a great thing, and we will see how it works.
Maybe I could add, I think there are 2 dimensions to this. Before we come to having women board member, I think one of the challenge is a lot of the listed companies are still making up of family members. So first thing is family members, including other independent directors that are qualified, right? So that's a journey. First is qualification to be a board member, value creation beyond relationship, right? Moving away just pure family members and siblings and all that relationship. Then it talks about, then we talk about women. So I think this is a journey. By raising quota and just that you have women, do not necessarily solve the problem right now. It could be all the daughters are on the board, but they are not actively participating. If they're not trained and they're just, a minority, then we're still facing the challenge. So I think this is a journey that organizations need to realize that beyond family members, diversification of skills, beyond the men and the older generation, younger generation will bring value, and then there comes women. So I feel this is not about a quota setting alone. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Magdalena? What is your perspective?
Yeah, ambivalent again. So I was absolutely against the quota for the most part of my life. But in recent years, I became a fighter for the quota, and I had the honor to be part of the initiative for the quota in Germany. And I'm really happy to support it, and I think it's so important, and I'm thankful I changed my mind, and I think that's like an example for many topics. So the more we grow, the more we learn, the more we have the ability to change our perspective, and I think that's so important to be able to change your mind and to stay open to learn. I don't like the quota, but I think we need it. We urgently need it in Germany, and the numbers show it. If we don't have the quota, it would take more than 200 years for us to have equality in the boards, and we don't have that time for our future. We really don't have it. So we need it, but I think, or I hope, we can cancel it sooner than later again, because I think to have real equality, we have to change the systems. And yeah, I think skilling is one part of that. But I think that can be a bit dangerous as well, because if we look into science and statistics, especially women tend to overskill themselves. Women tend to always think and perceive, oh, I have to get that degree, I have to learn that, I have to get something, a master's in this and that. And I think that's dangerous, because we have so much talent in us, and we don't have to have a master's to show our talent and to do the work we're here to do for. So myself, I never studied. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I learned everything on myself. And I don't want to say it's not important to study. It is important, and it is important to learn, but we don't have to earn degrees to learn and to develop ourselves. So I think that's really important, to see the strength in our own and to build it.
Wow, yeah. I think actually we need more people coming in from different fields of expertise, from different careers, joining us in tech, because I guess we need their knowledge, and we actually would struggle if we wouldn't give them the opportunity to be part of this as well.
I think it's mutual. And I think this is what's really, really exciting challenge when you see the tech companies and industry converging, and you can see it in car companies, for example, that you see this steel and fuel traditional companies turn more and more into tech companies. So for a lot of people, a car is still like a hardware, but actually if you ask Elon Musk, he would say, or Neo in China, they would probably say, yeah, this is a computer with wheels. And I think this is a huge mindset change. And I think it's a great chance for women. We basically have a great track record when it comes to managing changes. So I think on this field, we have a great playground to show what we can.
Totally. So maybe Marilyn and Sigrid, you're working in the field of data. Is it anyhow different than the total tech industry? Do you have any specific insights you can share on the data industry itself?
Sigrid, do you want to go first?
Sure. I don't know, because data is just one small part of technology, to be honest. So I'm always surrounded by tech people in general, not necessarily only data people. So it is a problem in tech and in data in the same way. It's very I would say it's a bit different from when I started. When I started and I did my master's in France, and when I started, I was really we were 3 women out of a cohort of 50 people. But now, as I come to Singapore, when I see the same masters, they're actually both men and women equally 50-50. But when I receive CVs, I only receive CVs of males, so I'm not so sure. Maybe they don't go to finance. So I want to see more female CVs actually, and I would like to hire more of them. But I don't know where they are hiding sometimes, so it's a bit difficult. But I wanted to add something on the point that was made a little bit earlier, I think. I mean, on the quota part, right? I think quota is important, but I'm not so sure I agree also with the idea of quota. I have been hired in teams before where I felt like I was the diversity hire in a way because I was a female and I didn't feel fully integrated in the team. And so I do think that there is much more to do than just quotas. It's really changing the mindset and changing the culture of the team or the company that you join so that you really integrate these people. It can't just be a number on a paper. And so I think the whole machinery behind has to be supportive of these quotas, right? And it was really a tough experience for me to like feel like the diversity I hired, to be honest. And I was never really part of that team, and I didn't feel I could contribute 100% because I didn't have that that kind of how do you call it in English, that sense of belonging. So I do think that yeah, quota is important. It's a good way to start, but there is really much more than just the quota. The whole machinery behind has to be in place as well. Yeah.
How about this? Let's imagine that there's a marketing meeting, and inside the marketing meeting, there are 9 ladies and 1 man. The men will feel very unnatural as well. So if you look at it and take a step back, let's say in our day-to-day life, we happen to go to a social gathering one day, and it happened that it is all men because they're watching football and soccer, and you like soccer and you like the sport, you will find it very unnatural because it is not usual. So sometimes if you take a step back, forget about tech industry, forget about it is STEM, engineering, mathematics, anywhere you go into a soccer bar, you'll find odd because most are men. But a man is going to go into a lady salon and try and do his nail polish or manicure or pedicure, try and see what happened. Right. So I guess, first of all, it is a natural human reaction when you do not see same common being together. Therefore, the part where you have the majority of the people, it is all about their ability to recognize there are minority or smaller group, be a little bit more accommodative. But that said, if we happen to be on the minority side, we must be able to acknowledge your uncomfortable area. Don't try to be tough and try to pretend you are okay. You can always say that I'm learning to blend into such an environment that is unusual for me. This is my first time. Just share with you, 32 years ago when I stepped into technology world, I was the only woman that was employed. I'm not technical trained, but I was thrown into doing mainframe projects. So you imagine that the customers are men, the business partner are men, the managers are men, the management are men, even the supplier are men, and your pre-sales are men. So you're surrounded by that. And once you are in that environment, be open about it and say, gee, I've never come across such an environment. I love to have a lot more belonging feeling. And I think sometimes, to be fair to the majority group, when 9 of them are majority, they're talking to each other, they may not realize how it is feeling, right? Just try this forum. If there are 150 women dialing in, there's only 2 gentlemen dialing in, they will be really freaking out. Because if you're going to point at men right now in the audience and say, speak up and have you to share with us their feeling, how they feel about this women majority webinar or this live show, they will be uncomfortable. So recognizing this as a human is one thing, right? The human behavior. Second is about the knowledge. The fact of the matter is, in a technology world, it's level playing field. Behind the laptop screen, they don't care whether it's Simon or Simon, right? They do not care. Mark versus Mary, your results matter. But that said, in the real life, as you engage, recognizing that little environment gives room for the men or the majority group to recognize us and help us along. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, and it actually is pretty good fitting to one of the questions in the chat. So, Marilyn, you can share some thoughts with us. So, we have one man actually asking what man can do better to support women facing inequality, disadvantages, or maybe in general, how can men support women on their journeys?
I always want to go back to, the creation of Adam and Eve. The nature of this is, we try to keep these conversations as free flow as possible, is that typically the women listens more and the men will talk. And that is the nature of it, right? Is as we go into evolution of human, there's a lot of studies, in terms of the understanding of how human interact between two individuals. When it comes to a woman and man, it always felt that the woman will be the one that's taking care of the family, and the man is the one that's going out to do the hard labor job. So it has been so for really centuries, 2000 over years, I guess. I take a history of civilization type. I feel this is a biasness change. You need to have that biasness change, that women are always probably the one that is supporting role of the man. Why not turn it around and think that the man is the supporting role of the women, as the women goes out, to impact the world, whether in the capacity of a female leader or she's actually contributing in the role in the organization. So I think that is very important in terms of to make sure that we close the gap, to address, quota issue for executive board, or we talk about the equality within a meeting room. I'm always like also the very few female in a whole boardroom. I covers public sector very, very much. And a lot of times I'm probably is like one, two women who stands out among 10, 20 men to talk about my ideas. It's like I need to really feel that I am confident enough. This takes time to build. And I think this is the important ways that men has to change the mindset that women can also make the difference within the organization, make very sound decision, right, when it comes to, matters that's concerning the team, concerning the organization. I think these are the key things that how we can actually get the support from men to really change this mindset. Likewise, we don't want to, undermine the diversity as well. Sometimes we also have racial kind of biasness that probably in different part of the world, the less so-called second class immigration coming in, they are actually maybe not as performing as the first residents of the country. I think this shouldn't actually pose as a issues anymore. It should actually slowly, by influencing the people around us, that everyone make a difference, make a change, and you empower yourself to do that. Don't wait for other people to empower you. I think it's really important that you must self-reflect, empower yourself with thoughtfulness, deliberate through your and analyze, right, the ideas that you put forth, how will it impact the people around you and for your organization, as well as technology field.
Great. Any other thoughts on the how men can support women in their career?
Maybe what I could suggest is to ask the men who join our forum to speak up and let him speak. If the man could identify himself, what do you think you can help the women? How about that?
Yeah, sure. Maybe you can put it in the chat, because we don't have the possibility to unmute someone. But Magdalena, I guess you wanted to say something.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I think what's really important is it starts in the private life. And Marilyn just mentioned some topics, and I think that's so important. It's not about the career. It's not about the company you're working for. It starts in your private life. So be a feminist. take care of your daughters, take care of your family. I think that's so important. It's not about supporting your wife with the kids. Those are your kids as well, and I think that's really the most important thing. And I learned it the hard way because I got divorced once, and I'm happily married again to a strong feminist. And I think that's really important to have a look into your private life and see how you behave in your private life, because that mirrors how you will behave in the professional life. And I think that's really important. And I think we need men to be allies at work, but it's also important not to overstep that, because it's not I think Marilyn just said we don't need someone to empower us. We have the power in ourselves, and that's so important. And as well, we don't need to have men helping us all the time, supporting us all the time. No, be an ally, but take care if someone wants your help. And so just for you to be like the great patriarch, and I'm going to help you, and I'm the huge man, and I'm the helper. No, that's not about it. Take care if someone wants to be helped, if someone needs the support, and sometimes it's just important to stay on the sideline, to be an ally, and not to be on the front line.
I'd like to mention one point about this part. This is more my own personal observation. Sometimes when we women wants to do well, right, the fear of failing is even stronger. And sometimes that stops us from really communicating. We keep it to ourselves too much. And we keep it to ourselves too much. You know, women wants the men to guess. They said, guess. Just keep guessing. And I can tell you for all my life, I feel that guys are not good with guessing. The better off you just tell them a one line that I am miserable, I'm unhappy today, or I fail, or I'm fear of failing next week on a project, and all. The men would listen. So I think for all the women on this forum, hear me, because we love to hide our feelings and we're not good in the expressing ourselves in difficult times. When you ask the man to guess, the guy guessed twice, you get pissed off, you get angry, and he got angry, and you said, you're not listening to me. So I think sometimes women, the method of opening on the communication can be a lot more forefront, open and straightforward. And that actually also means your conversation style with your male workers. You could say, I feel uncomfortable with this. I may have challenges that I feel that I like to work together to solve it. But because our fight to compete, our desire to succeed is so strong, sometimes we are the one not able to put forward across how you feel about it. So the net is ability to share feelings is very important in any human to human relationship, at work or at home.
Yeah, I guess that sounds like a big learning from all the years you've been in tech. Maybe to bring in a new perspective. You're all amazing leaders, female role models. So maybe you can share with everyone watching this fireside chat, what is like one learning throughout your career which you want to share, which is very helpful for people maybe starting their career, but maybe also for men which are watching this chat. So is there one thing you learned over the past years which you wish to knew when you started into your own career? Maybe Alexandra, would you like to start?
Yes, I would say make learning a lifelong habit. And I would say if I have a look at what really was the turning point in my career, it was when you have somebody in your environment who believes in you and who says, okay, I'm going to take the chance and I'm going to give the girl the possibility of showing what she can, of her capabilities. And I think this is a huge, there's two things actually. The first one, choose the environment where this is possible and be ruthless if you notice this is no longer the case. you're gonna, and this is a mindset question, because I think on the one side, you get this chance, you raise your hand, you say, I want to do it. I'm like freak out that I'm really petrified, but I'm going to do it anyway. On the one side, so it's huge learning for you, but it's a great mindset for the company as well, because this is a signal that you send to the company to say, okay, we are eager to give huge responsibilities to people who maybe are not 100% ready, but we prize and push and support people who say, I'm going to do it anyway. So like really flexing the muscle of learning, of taking chances. And I think we so much need it, especially in Europe, because we need to get this spirit of innovation again. And if you play safe, you're not going to innovate. So I would say take it as a chance, or take it as a possibility for you as a young female leader, but also it's a huge possibility for a company to send a signal into the organization.
Nice. So you say environment should be chosen.
Environment is crucial.
Okay, well, yeah, I think that's absolutely great. Sigrid, what are your experiences?
I mean, I agree that learning is really important and that you should know what you're talking about. But I think to me, another really important thing that I always underestimated was network, and building your network, being surrounded by people who will promote you, who will help you along your career, who will advise you. Part of network is also mentor, and I think back to the previous question, what men can do is mentor women as well and be part of that. I think it's really important to have that feedback on how we are perceived as well, both by male and female. So I do think that building your network is going to open a lot of doors. It's not, unfortunately, it is not always only about what you know, like technically on the data space, for example, but it is also who you know and who can help you, support you realize your aspirations. So the network is really something that you shouldn't undermine. And one of the first things now that I do when I join a new company is to really map out who will be will be able to help me in my job, in my career, or even as a support, and who I should be starting to connect with.
So you're also saying that it's kind of should be a bit planned, or would you say it is? Yeah.
I think you do have to plan it. You need to know who are your key stakeholders, who are the people who, for example, if I want to set up a data science team, I need to know who is going to be consuming my data science, and I need to be able to promote some of those use cases to them. I need also to be able to have access to the data, so I need to know the people who is going to provide me that data. So it is. I do it deliberately, and I think it's important to have this as you join a company as well.
If I could add on that, because I think that's really, really interesting and so important, the networking part. And I think it's both. It should be planned networking sometimes, especially within a company, but it should be also like open networking with just people you admire, people you admire on a personal level, you think you can learn from, because sooner or later they will be helpful and will be useful to help you grow your career. And I think it should be both of it, but you shouldn't only connect to people you expect something from. So for example,
it could be just ideas. It could be anything, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think 6 years ago, I connected to a woman on Twitter, and we recognized we are the same age probably, and we are both based in Munich and working in the same field, and we were just texting, and it was awesome, and tagging each other, and then we met for a coffee, and it was just like a blind date. We never met before. We met for a coffee, and we had a great talk. And so it wasn't planned. It was just I wanted to connect to her because I loved what she was tweeting about. And 1 year later, we became friends back then. And then I talked to her about my job life, and I don't know, something's changing, and I don't know if it's the right thing for me. And then she just said, I'm working for Microsoft Microsoft, and I think it could be really interesting, could be a great chance for you. And so that what brought me to Microsoft, and that was more than 5 years ago, and I think I'd never applied at Microsoft, and I think I'd never got a job at Microsoft without the network. So I can absolutely double on Sigrid. Network is so crucial and so important.
I think mentoring is one part of it, but I'm a huge fan of the so-called advocating. So basically, less on finding somebody who's going to help you with the specifics of your area of competence, but more of somebody who's going to talk about you when you're not in the room. So somebody who's going to talk to the higher ups and give you a chance by advocating you, give you the chance to bigger stretch assignments, and somebody who's going to say, okay, this is somebody I trust, and this is somebody I would push forward for certain assignments. And very seldom this is your mentor, because they basically have their own interest in it. But I think if you are lucky to find people who advocate for you, this is a huge add-on.
I also would like to add one point that, apart from the networking, even like GDEXA having this opportunity to do the global mentorship, at the same time, the network with the younger, the young ones, the graduates, the one that has just came up from their learnings. In fact, I find that they are a lot more informed as compared as during our time. Probably we are not so much with the internet's accessibility as well. We learned and we network with them in terms of sharing ideas, and that's where, coming back to the point that Alexandra has mentioned, is a lifelong learning. I think the lifelong learning is bi-directional. And I guess one other thing, I wanted to use this time to also answer Yasmin's questions, right? She was asking about when do we know that is your time. I think your time will always comes about when you realize that you are stepping out. When you step out, you're actually a lot more visible in front of, the organization, especially if, even though you might not be visible to your own reporting manager, you could be visible to the team, and people start to talk about you and saying that you are actually making a difference. You are making some slight changes, but that actually identifies with someone who feels that it's a big impact, right? So I think this is the portion that when you step out, right, the thrilling opportunities and responsibility will come. In fact, I was many years back, because of my engineering background, I was tasked to do a very, very challenging project. Firstly, it's because my colleague left, and he was supposed to actually, do an engineering project which and requires the company to deliver a public address system for so-called actually a naval base. And I have zero knowledge, totally zero knowledge about that particular engineering, communication system. But I step out and learn and go through the hard part to learn from different field expertise, subject matter expert, right? And I managed to deliver the project on time, deliver it based on really, very high standards required by the customers. So I think the opportunity is that don't shy away from responsibility that you feel that you are, you're just so scared about, what if things goes wrong, what if the project fail because you have no experience. Importantly is that every single step seek out and, ask for advice if you don't know, and as well as, get help when needed, shout for help. Don't always be, keeping to yourself and think that, the world will change by you not asking questions. I think these are very critical.
Yeah.
I'd like to offer my thoughts on this part. Career development is never a straight path. So there is no fixed formula that, hey, you do one, you progress, and it's like a line that goes up that way. So in the past, when people say, where is my career path? And they try to impose that to their manager or even their mentor, my suggestion is don't do that, right? More importantly is you path forward what you would like to be. What do you think? Given no constraint of anything, what would you like to be? And success is a very subjective word. It doesn't have to be hierarchically in terms of rank and power. So don't get too absorbed into the thinking that success is just rank. Success is just promotion. Success means broader responsibility. I often hear a lot coming to me and say, Elaine, I want to have career development. I don't want to be an individual contributor. I want to be a people manager. I think these mindset need to be changed. Success could mean a few things for women. One is from a responsibility that are changing. Don't be fearful that you change from one country to another. Be prepared to move and change. That is success. Success could be a career for an organization, but you decide to be an entrepreneur or startup, or starting your own business that can impact the society, bring value. That's success. The key about career development is about what make you passionate. And then the necessary ingredient could be network, could be learning, could be your brain power. But net of all, if you ask if what are the things that you need to have necessary ingredient, I sum it to three things. First is we must take care of having a positive image, an image that are being presented to others, how others view us. For example, in the beginning of this forum, the ladies were saying, I am challenger, I'm passionate, or I'm engaging, or I'm inspirational. These are very beautiful adjectives. Remember, as you say that, make sure that others feel the same way. So I think your image on how you present to others, the sense of ownership, positivity is not what you say, it's how others feel it. So image is something you cannot substitute with time or money. You can never buy it from anyone. You cannot fast track. All right. So take care of your image. The second is brain power. You got to learn, whether it is an academic or informal training. Learn from the job. Without learning, you cannot keep pace. Without learning, you cannot innovate. Without learning, you cannot challenge, right? So learning is important, but learning can come from many sources. So brain power or thinking, long-term, short-term, tactical, operational, they are all important. The last but not least, the points that the girls or the ladies have mentioned, network. That network that you offer to others and others offer to you again, you can never fast track it with money and time. And relationships are very genuine, no matter what your agenda is, whether it's work, commercial, or anything is fine. But your heart, how you articulate something, and be consistent. Don't change. Don't change your posture, because once you change your posture, you can have the best network. They're going to go because there is the trust. So network is not just about knowing the people. It's the integrity, the trust that you bring forward with your heart. So that's what I have to share. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful words. So I love it. Thank you so much, Elaine,
Thank
for
you.
sharing. So before coming to an end, because I know most people will maybe jump to another call in about 2 or 3 minutes, one last question for all of you, and maybe you can just answer it in a sentence or two. So what is your personal, or what was the most inspiring woman for you, and why? Maybe just share one or two ideas, and maybe people out there can go and see why this is actually the fact. So Elaine, maybe you want to start, just one or two sentences.
Okay, my mother. My mother was not educated. My mother was just a seamstress. She fought her life bringing us up. She gave up all her opportunities of working to be a full-time mom. So she is my inspiration, because without her, I have no education. Without her, I would not know my piano. So she's my inspirational, as in, while I respect her role, but I think we can do more and then repay her with that kindness and the love that she has given to us. So my mother is my inspiration. Thank you.
Great. Marilyn, one or two sentences.
Yep, it has to also be my mother. In fact, having her to be my goal, to make a more comfortable life for her, to make sure that a lot of her asks are being met, because we come from a really, really poor family. And that's the point that where I came out really early to work. I wanted to provide as much as I can to give her a comfortable life, to take care of her. So that whatever that she does always identify with me. And it's always said that the daughter will know the mother's heart better. So it's the mom's role that plays a very big part in my life.
Oh, great. Sigrid.
I would say something completely different. Mainly, maybe because I lost my mother quite young. So to me, I draw inspirations from other women, and I would say Christine Lagarde is quite a good inspiration for me. I mean, she's influential, powerful. She's also elegant. She's a mother of two. She's a big advocate for women. And I think to me, she's really an icon, and it's really someone that I follow.
Wow. Alexandra.
Yes, I was beginning to feel bad that I'm not going to name my mother, but I hope she's going to be understanding about that. But I'm moving to another Polish person, definitely. Marie Curie in China, I think she's called Julie Fugain, the 19th century world-class chemistry and physics Nobel Prize winner, and the French non-native. And I find people inspiring to find new home countries. And with the can-do approach, they obtain their goals. And a lot of people don't know that, but the element that she discovered, the polonium, is called after the country she came from. So definitely great inspiration for me.
Wow. Last but not least, Magdalena.
Thank you. So my answer will be very different, and I think I never had dare to think about that answer some years ago, because my inspirational woman, the most inspirational woman in my life, is my future self. And I really love the concept of thinking about your future self. It helped me a lot. I was always seeking for inspiration, for mentors, for support externally. And I think that's really important to have someone to reflect yourself. But it was so powerful for me to see I can be my own mentor as well. I can be my own role model, and I can be my own inspiration. And I always think about my future self. So myself 20 years in the future, how will I be? How will I behave? What will I work? How will I communicate? What family will I have? And that's so important for me to see that North Star in the future, to see myself in the future, and to get inspiration for me now.
You're muted.
Wow. On the last mile, there is this very common thing of being muted. So, wow, I guess there were so many different answers. And I hope everyone listening to this chat can somehow relate to one or can take it as an inspiration. And I can just say, wow, time flew. We talked an hour, and I think it was amazing. And thank you so much for actually being here, for sharing your insights, for giving us your perspectives. And I see that there are a lot of more questions and more content, and maybe we should do it once more in the future to actually see if we can also cover all the other things. So with that, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for listening. And I wish you a happy day, a happy evening, and enjoy the World Women's Day. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.